So yeah, that was it. I trimmed it, and it looked like it was mad. Like the amount of hair that was there, it was like a little baby hedgehog was on the floor.
And it didn't like crawl away or anything like
No,
that.
it didn't run off.
That is so funny.
This is the Extra 10% podcast, helping you get paid tomorrow for what you do today. Invite John Holowaty and Mark Hudson to join you at the breakfast table, ride with you to work, or just randomly stumble across them in the afternoon. Let's get the extra 10% out of your day.
So, John, how's it going?
Very good. Very good.
That is good. Well, I feel like we should always be truthful. We've already started this podcast, and then the internet
crumbled.
It crumbled, and so it was all crackly. It was literally crumbled. The internet was like little bits of crumble. So we had to start it again because it wasn't worth continuing. So when we sound, I guess, less enthusiastic about saying, hey, John, hey, Mark, how's it going? We've already done it like 3 times because we do it initially anyway when we jump on the Zoom, just genuinely chatting. And then we do it to start the podcast. And then if we have to start the podcast twice, we've said hello 3 times. So I'm sick of the sight of you right now. That's it.
Yeah, we're done, right? That's it.
But we spoke about the hat. Great hat. But most importantly, you've shaved your beard. You know.
Yeah, the beard has been trimmed. It was an hour-long job. The battery actually ran out halfway through.
Yeah.
So, and by the
you
end,
had like half a beard. Did you like?
No, I did the bit where I shaved like the sides, and then I had like a massive goat. But I didn't really take any pictures of it. But
I was going to say, did you document it at all? But
I feel better without it, to be fair. I mean, I did enjoy having it, but it was just getting a little bit too. And what happened was they opened all the bars over here now and stuff. So the lockdown was kind of suspended and laws were relaxed. So
if you didn't want to look a fool going out into the clubs.
Yeah, well, I've not been out anywhere, but I just said that I was gonna grow the beard until lockdown was suspended, and
right.
then I was getting to a point where I was like, if it hadn't have been, I probably would have shaved it anyway because it was getting a bit ridiculous. And it's all well and good for people that know me; they know like my character. But if I'm doing Zoom calls and then there's a guy on there that looks like he's from Ice Road Truckers or
yeah.
Catch, it doesn't really look too professional. So I don't mind having the beard, but when it was getting to the length that it was a bit ridiculous. So yeah, that was it. I trimmed it, and it looked like it was mad. Like the amount of hair that was there, it was like a little baby hedgehog was on the floor.
And it didn't like crawl away or anything like
that. No, it didn't run off.
That is so funny. Hey, there were people, you could sell that hair. There's people who pay good money for, with bald patches.
There's a lot of wisdom in that beard. It's been a lot of places. That beard's been to Dubai. It's been to
a well-travelled beard.
UK.
Yeah. Oh, that's very fun.
Reminds me of that Jackass, though. Did you ever watch the Jackass?
Yeah.
Where they put all the hair on the pizza and they have to eat it. Horrific.
Yeah, that is disgusting. Jackass's gags, very good, very funny. But I had a similar, I guess, debacle, but with my own hair. Look, I've managed to get a quarantine lockdown hairdo, which I'm actually not that depressed about. I don't think it's that bad.
Right. It reminds me of a Viennetta
with the whirl on the top. I literally do have noodle hair, like not even joking. It's so curly, the top of my hair. I normally this is maybe revealing too much of myself. I normally well, you already know this, straighten my hair. Because do you remember that time we were traveling somewhere and it was ages ago now, 5 years ago. And I was so embarrassed, and I think Vicky was there as well. I'm not too sure. We were traveling somewhere, I don't know, Barcelona or whatever, to do some business with her, and everyone got through the security at the airport, and my bag got beep 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 got to the side, and I was like, oh, what could it be? I've taken all my liquids out, taking my laptop out, could not fathom what the hell it's gonna be. Oh, it's gonna be a false alarm, whatever, a bit annoying, no problem. Anyway, who's the suitcase here? Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's mine. So I made it loud and clear, this is my suitcase. Whatever is in here, this is mine. And the thing that had set them off was my straightness, and everybody looked at me oh, this guy. So it was embarrassing, but hilarious. So for a long time, years, as a kid, I always hated having curly hair. But and I even went as far as like trying to have it like chemically straightened, but it never really works 'cause it's so goddamn curly. So then I resorted to straightening it like every day, and then since lockdown, I've just embraced the curls. And actually, every time I go to the hairdressers, the guy always says people come in asking for your hairdo, like want a perm. Like they want to have shaved sides and have a perm. And I'm like, yeah, fair enough. But I suppose you always want what you don't have, don't you? Like you always want the opposite.
You don't want a permanent perm.
Yeah, and some Jerry curls. So I cut my hair, but similar sort of scenario to yourself is I only have a beard trimmer because like I've never cut my hair myself before, so I don't have clippers. And so I started, shaving and all that kind of stuff, and then it ran out of battery as well, and I was just like, oh God. And I looked in the mirror and I was like, what have you done? I thought I'd made a huge mistake. And then they take like 3 hours to charge. Like I couldn't just plug them into the wall and then use them. It would not work. So I had to leave them aside. I had one half of my head like shaved and I had like a mullet going down the back. Oh God. I've got a picture. I will share it. Very funny. In fact, it's on my Facebook. I like posted it because it was just too funny not to share. I look like a redneck. It's like, just very, very funny. Embarrassing. But now we're through the worst of it. And it's a bit of a mess.
All right, mate. I wouldn't know that you'd done it yourself.
Right. Well, that's good. That is good. Maybe it's just because it's so far away. Maybe if you're closer, you'd see all the imperfections. But
so, how's your week been? How's let's forget about our male grooming techniques.
Yeah.
We're not setting up a business. We're not going into male grooming, but
if
there are any male groomers on here and you want to come promote your business on our podcast, feel free.
Yeah, cut our hair first or shave our beard first, and we'll know whether you're the real deal. But yeah, so this week's been really good for Let's One. What I've started to do more of is, and this sounds really weird, but I never use my personal profiles. Like I feel that my business and I are like synonymous, like the same thing. Like there's no difference. Like I live in my business, I'm always thinking about it. I'm always, it's always on mind kind of thing. But I never really utilize my social media, my personal social, to kind of talk to people about it. I always just use the business pages for Let's One specifically. I did the odd LinkedIn post, but I never use my personal Facebook. Anyway, I just decided like there are probably plenty of people that I'm friends with, and even plenty of groups out there that I can add value to that would be interested in what we do. So I started posting and it's really worked. I've had so many people reach out saying, oh, I didn't know you did websites or like, whatever. So we've been able to sign some great new clients up, which is exciting. I love getting people on board and kind of adding value and stuff like that. But one of the things that's really worked with regards to getting new friend requests, I suppose, which of course is the long game of building relationships with those people, is I've been looking around of places where I can add value. So I know from, working with you, working with some of the other people that have kind of mentored and coached me, that if you add value to people's lives, that you have to add value to maybe 20, 30 people. Someone will turn around and want to kind of return that favor in some way, whether that be adding value to you by giving you money, as in buying your product, or whether it be connecting you with someone or whatever. So with that kind of philosophy in mind, I was like, yeah, if I want to grow the business through my personal social media, can I find ways to add value? And that's what I've been doing is searching for business groups that have entrepreneurs in there, have business owners, and then looking for topics that I would consider myself an authority figure in, websites, business, a bit of social. And if people are putting questions in those groups, is literally just answering them and giving them value, giving them tips, not then going, oh, buy my thing, but just literally answering the question that they ask. And what inevitably happens is two things. The person you answer the question for just connects with you because they think, oh, right, okay, this guy, brilliant. And then all the other people that see that in the group, that see you commenting and adding the value, they themselves may have had a similar question. And so they add you as well. And then you end up getting 10, 15 people connecting with you on Facebook. And then obviously, if you think of a sales funnel perspective, they are then seeing the content that I'm putting out to the world on my own profile, the videos, the tips, the value. And so then you wake up in the morning and you've had 2 or 3 messages of people saying, oh, can we jump on a call to kind of talk about, my website and stuff like that? And I'm talking, around the world, not just UK, Australia, America. And so literally just doing this for 1 week, I can't believe the impact. I've had so many people approach me. We've signed up plenty of new clients, and I'm just very excited to, well, it sounds so obvious, but add value and you get it in return. You know, it's kind of,
it's organic, it's free, right? And
it's free. Completely. It just takes time. And all I've done is set aside 2 hours a day, and I do it first thing in the morning, so that we always talk about willpower, right? Go to the gym first thing in the morning, get your, you know, the hardest tasks done first. I know that that is now one of my most value adding tasks to complete.
Yeah.
And so get it done first thing in the morning between 8:30 and 10:30, and then it's done. And then I don't see, this is where you can go wrong with social, is just constantly checking it. So I don't have social on my phone, like I've said 1,000 times on this podcast. So I log into Facebook on my computer, and I log into LinkedIn on my computer. And I just do that in that morning for that 2 hours, and then I shut it down, and then I look at it again the next day. You know, if that makes sense. And
yeah, so you're not getting distracted, because then it kind of becomes that instant gratification, like when they're going to comment, when they're going to comment, when they're going to like, when someone, so you've almost like, I've done the work, see you later. Like if you did a workout in the morning, you wouldn't keep going back to look at
that is a perfect example. I couldn't even think of a better one, but yeah, you're right.
Like, so it's that's it. And I love it. And it kind of, it's a lesson for every business, because you have to, number one, you have to do the work. It's all well and good. The theory is, in principle, it works, right? Go into a Facebook group, add value, comment, like, answer questions. Number one, you get noted as being the nice guy that's actually gone there to help someone. So you've added value, tick. Number two, you're showing people that you know what you're talking about, and you're not too afraid to know what you're talking about. So you're growing that value and that authority figure of, hey, I know what I'm saying. I'm confident enough to comment in this group with thousands of people. So instantly, because it's always like, he must know what he's talking about, because he stood at the front of the room talking about
exactly. Yeah, and it's so true. And also the other thing as well that I've noticed in these groups is that, like, most people go in the group to like gain, and like, I guess I am doing that, but I'm doing it in such an indirect way that it's working. How many tea bags have you got in that mug, boy? Like, more labels coming out than an actual label maker.
It's like the Australian hat.
yeah, with all the corks. But yeah, what I've noticed is when somebody does ask a question, let's say about a website, or whatever, people go, "Oh, I'll do it for you. Here, I'm I'm £1,000, I'm 3,000, whatever." They post a link to the website, and it's like, this person is just asking this one question. Like, help them out. So actually add value. And then what happens is you stand out in the crowd, like you were sort of saying then, is you seem desperate if you're posting your link. Like if someone asks a question and goes, "Oh, I'll just do it for you," it's like, whereas when you just comment and answer the question, it's like, oh, this guy's like doing so well, in quotes, that he can give this value away for free.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the person I want to connect with, because
you're not needy, you're not desperate. You're just saying, hey, this is that easy to me. I can give you that for free. Like, I don't even care. Like, everybody should know this. Right. Whereas the other guy, Desperate Dan or whatever he's called, is literally like, oh my God, there's an opportunity here to get something. I'm gonna quickly jump on this. And it's that scarcity mindset and that fear mindset that he's living in. No wonder he's not getting any sales, because I guarantee he's not getting sales by living this behavior. So I love it. It's what we teach with our business, and it's a networking thing. It's like, join a group, become a voice, add value, help people, but don't get distracted by the group where you're just continually in there getting that instant gratification from helping someone. It has to lead somewhere.
There has to be a sales funnel.
What's the end game? The end game is, of course, you want to get a business sale out of it, but your strategy is to add value. And I always say this, and I did a post about it on my Instagram. Some will, some won't. So what? Add value, right? Some will, some won't. So what? Add value. Just, even if they say no, don't be like, right, see you later, do one. A bit like the story that I told you about of the guy the other week who say, I'll never never be a customer, right? Yeah, I knew he would never be a customer, but I continued to add value every time that I saw him, because he may know somebody like you have to treat everyone as a customer, because I remember a guy that I used to train told me a great story. He owned a hairdresser's, and he was like, I almost got into a road rage argument in the area, in the local area. And then he had to stop himself. And he said, the reason that I didn't like jump out my car and go ballistic is because that could have been a customer and I didn't know it. Or it could have been someone that goes into his salon sort of thing. That could have been one of his best customers' husbands. And if he's having a tear up, like punching someone over a parking space, it's like not the ripple effect of that goes in so many different directions. So
100%.
The good thing about that is the opposite happens. If you do a good deed, the ripple effect of that will go in so many different directions. And the law of averages is this: if I'm nice to you, the chances are that you're going to say something good about me and somebody else is going to be nice to me. It's just the law of reciprocation, right?
Absolutely. And I think the key, you sort of mentioned it right at the beginning, was like going out and actually doing the work. For, theory is one thing, but action is actually what gets you the results. And what I've been doing is setting myself targets. So like, rather than just saying willy-nilly, like, oh, I'm going to add value today in that group, it's like, I need to add 10 value-adding posts. I need to, connect with 10 people that are my kind of perfect audience, if that makes sense. Because what are you smirking at anyway? Because I said willy-nilly. I knew that was going to crack you up. But yeah, right. It's like...
So like, I'm not just going in the group posting willy-nilly, like literally posting it.
Just the word willy-nilly every day. But no, like there is a strategy behind it, but then I've also got accountability that I don't like. There's no fluff to it. And you know the way you people convince themselves they're working on things when they're not, like, sort of not getting distracted by social. Oh, I'm working because I do get clients every so often from social. So that means every minute I'm on social means I'm working. No, it doesn't. You've got paying activities and you've got ones that don't pay. And it's like, do the paying activities and then close it up and move on to other paying activities. Don't dwell, so, because the thing is, those comments, those notifications are still going to be there 12 hours from now. They don't go anywhere. Facebook doesn't go, oh, they haven't looked at this, so I'm just going to turn the notification off. It's like you come in at 7 p.m. at night or the next day, 8 a.m., like for me, all those notifications are there. And actually, we were talking about Tim Ferriss before this podcast, it's like he talks about batching and not like doing task switching. And that is a prime example of it. Is rather than every time I get a notification, whatever I'm doing, I stop and I pick it up and I read the social notification. I just look at social between 8:30 and 10:30, and I don't look at anything else. So I just immerse myself in it, and then I close it, put it away, and then I'm on to just email, and then I'm on to just project management, and then I'm on, just sales calls, and it's like
just follow up, breaking it in. And batching's so good. It is really. It saves you a lot of time and wasted energy, right?
Yeah, and it's then whether you've like. Because the reason I'm recording anything, how many posts am I doing, how many comments, how many whatever, and then how many sales is that leading to, is the duplication element. Because then I can bring somebody in, sit them next to me and go, here's your list of things to do. You don't need to do anything. You do 10 of this, 12 of that, 7 of that, whatever. You will get the outcome. It's just a formula. It's just a numbers game. So then if they're not achieving said sales target or whatever, I go, okay, well, how many calls have you had? And then, all right, you've had the amount of calls, how many this, that, and the other. And you just keep going back until like, you just know, oh yeah, you only did 5 posts that day. So why, like, it makes sense that you didn't make a sale that day, or it makes sense you didn't make a sale like 10 days later because you didn't put the work in 10 days ago. Yeah. You missed out on that day. But it's every day, if you put the work in, you have a checklist of what is a paying activity, then it spits out the outcome at the end. Everything is just that power of numbers.
So I want to just discuss being an authority figure, because I know the question that listeners will have, well, what if I'm not confident that I know enough to talk about, right? So and this reminds me of my very first day as a personal trainer. Got my qualification, got my uniform on, and I was like on the gym floor, and I remember thinking, shit, I've got to train people now. And I remember thinking, what if I'm rubbish, right? What if I don't know my stuff? What if I can't get people results? I remember getting really nervous about like all this stuff. It's the first time I'd ever done it. So what I will say is when you are going into this, you will feel a little bit of trepidation, a little bit of like, how's my response going to go? Because we obviously play a story in your mind. What if someone disagrees with me?
Yeah, you play the worst case
scenario.
scenario.
Yeah, you think about the worst case, like what if someone disagrees with me, or what if they try my advice and it doesn't work, or whatever. So someone said to me once, and it just set my mind at ease. They were like, John, these guys that are coming to you, you know so much more than them. You could, and because you've got the uniform on, you could tell them to stand in a bucket of sand for an hour, and they'd do it if they thought they would get results. So it's like, once you've got that, and you have to have that mindset, you have to have that almost bullish belief that, no, this is the right way, this is the way to talk about it. And so everybody's not an expert, but everybody knows something about something.
Right.
So I would always say, talk about what you know. Don't trip yourself up and blag it. Don't become a blagger. So if someone said to me, let's say I've got a sore lower back, right? So they came to me for a PT session. They're like, I've got a sore lower back. I'd be like, okay, well, I'm not a spinal surgeon. I don't know anything about, chiropractor or all that kind of stuff.
But if you lie down, I'll get my spatula out and I'll have a look.
My spatula.
I didn't mean spatula, I meant scalpel, but...
Yeah, spatula, yeah. You lie down, I'll make a cake on your back.
I'll flip a pancake.
Yeah. So I think what you've got to do is go, right, well, how can I talk about, in this situation, I don't know a lot about what this is, but what I do know is I can talk about something that's related to that. So I would say, look, I'm not a physio, I'm a personal trainer, but what I do know is, you're carrying quite a bit of weight on the front of your stomach, which is going to put pressure on your lower back, which is going to then bring you forward a little bit. I'm guessing that you've got tight hamstrings, and I'm guessing that you don't really do that much stretching. So then the person's like, right, okay. So let me show you some stretches, and let me show you some exercises that are going to strengthen your lower back. And we can also give you some nutrition advice to get rid of the beer belly. So it's like, let's talk about what you know about. So
right.
That's the other thing. And then
I was just let me stop you on that, but hold that thought, because it works perfectly with this. Is one of the reasons that I know that I've stagnated in sales before is because I focused on my outcome. And what I mean by that is that and I know you talk about this a lot in your business, is you are the vehicle to get somebody to their own outcome. So that perfect analogy of the guy with a bad back is there are 10, 20 ways that he can get rid of that bad back, right? One is the surgery extreme, but there is a million other ways. And what you've done there,
including using a spatula
and flipping a pancake on your back. But what you've done is go, all right, let me show you another vehicle. Here's another way that you can achieve your goal. And it's like, at the end of the day, most people do not care about the vehicle. They just want the outcome. So they want the vehicle that is going to be the tried and tested method that somebody else has benefited from. And it is the easiest amount of energy for them to expel, basically. That's what people want. So if you can provide that and you get their end goal, that's what matters the most. So when it comes to somebody asking a question in a group, and you go, like you just said, I'm not an expert in that, is at the end of the day, what if you read between the lines, what's their outcome they're trying to achieve? Because maybe they're asking the wrong question. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's kind of,
I love it.
Then you can, but anyway, sorry, I just cut you off because I thought.
No, it's right. It was a good thing to do. And I totally agree with you, because I wasn't really thinking about that pathway around it, but you're so right. It's a good point to bring up, because ultimately their goal was to get a better back. They weren't bothered how they did it. So spot on. And a lot of your people that will be commenting in your stuff, their goal will be to, get more sales into their business. So you can show them there's loads of different ways that you can do that, but this is one of them. The other points that people have with this is they go, well, I'm not qualified to speak about that. I'm not an expert in that. So what do I talk about? And I always say this, you don't have to be an expert if you've got your own story. So this is what worked for me. this is what works for us. This is what works for me. So especially in my business where people are talking about health and nutrition and, they're not qualified personal trainers, but they've started their own health journey. So I'm like, look, all you're doing is you're sharing what has worked for you. There's nobody that says that you have to be an expert in anything. Like, how many people don't know anything about wine tasting, or they know a little bit about wine tasting, but they're literally they're always talking about a good wine, or they're not qualified in football, but they're an expert on football. They're not
same with movies as well. Yeah, like
movies
people say, such a good film.
Got an opinion. So there's nothing that will like, you don't have to be a qualified sommelier to go. I'm gonna educate you now on this bottle of Pinot Noir. It's just like, look, I like it because it's this. It comes from here. You know a little bit about it. So your own story is so powerful. Your own story of where I was at, what I changed, what worked for me. So that is all you need to know. So I could go into I could actually become an authority figure in the same group that you're in, but I have no idea about how to build websites. I don't know how to do coding. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. And this links back to your point, but I could comment under the question and come at it from a totally different angle and go, yeah, I don't actually know anything about coding, but I understand that. I'm guessing that your end goal is to get more sales, right? Question mark. That person would comment and say, yeah. Well, have you thought about these sales strategies other than just relying on a website? Have you thought about doing this? So I could kind of come in at it from another angle. So we could both end up selling the guy something later on down the line. Mine would be totally different to yours, but the outcome is the same. And I would go, I'm not an expert, but this is what works for me. This is what we did to get my sales. We ran a competition. We ran this, we did this. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
100%,
it's all linked. You don't have to be an expert.
And do you know what that comes down to? And I think you've sort of summarized, how do you become an expert? And the answer is, you listen to what somebody actually wants. What is their actual outcome? Now, at the end of the day, if somebody needs brain surgery, that's not my ideal customer. There's no way I can add value to that person, right? But there are so many people that I can't help you there. No, all I can do is flip a spatula.
Yeah, you're just gonna get the spatula out again.
Yeah, but so what I'm trying to say is, I don't answer every question that's in the group. If somebody starts asking about like accountancy and tax, right? Yeah, that's not my. I scroll past that, right? So remember, it's about value-adding activities. I'm not trying to do 100 comments. I'm trying to do 10. But they're the perfect answer for what I know. But if you listen to people when they ask a question, they're not always asking the question they ask. And that is how you become the best authority figure, is you listen to people, which is not what salespeople do. People, when they're in sales, quite often just barrage people with features. This is what we do, and this is what we do, and this is why we're better than everyone else feature-wise. But if you flip that on its head and go, you've got an end goal, tell me what that is, and then you become the vehicle to get to the end goal. You're not trying to sell the vehicle. The vehicle is almost irrelevant. You say, I can help you get to the end goal. Now they're attracted by that. That's the thing they're interested in. And I think that's kind of flipped a switch in my head, because which is just be the vehicle. Ask people what they want, which is actually, it stems down to, they want to buy a house in Portugal. And that's the reason they're asking that website question, because they think in their head, if I can turn automated email on my website, then that means I don't have to write emails every day, which means that I'll have more time to do this over here, which means I'll make more money, which means I can go and buy a place in Spain. Yeah. And it's like, when you ask that and you find out they want to go to Spain, then now you can understand how to be the expert and the authority figure for that person.
And that leads to far much more business than just, I'll teach you how to get your automated click funnels going or whatever, get your automated emails going, because then it's like, all right, cool. Well, let me just write some notes. Let me help you with this thing first, but I'd love to explore what you need more from this side, because actually this side here that you're talking about is going to take you to your goal a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And I always say, like, if you ask good enough questions, they will sell themselves on the whole concept.
Exactly.
Because I used to do when I was a PT, I would not say, right, I can give you this and this and this. I go, what do you want? Like, what are the 3 things that you want to achieve right now? Like, in the next 12 weeks, what do you want to achieve? How will that make you feel? How good will you feel when you get those results? How do you feel right now? And how good will you feel? And it's just that pleasure and pain thing. People are either making decisions that are going to move them towards pleasure and away from pain. And that is it. And which one is the biggest trigger? Is it getting away from the pain, or is it getting towards the pleasure?
And also what you're doing there, which is, it's the best way to sell, is get a fully defined position. You know, we've spoke about it before about, you know, getting your finances in order and stuff like that. You have to do those things. It's just like a sat nav has to know where you are so that it can, you know, tell you where you want to go. Well, when you're asking somebody like, you know, how would it make you feel? What are you trying to achieve? Like, what are you doing now, etc. It's like you define a now, like what is happening right now. So it's clear in the prospect's mind, essentially. Yeah, this is where I am, because they may have had some blurred lies in their brain about really where they am. So for me, I ask people straight, like, oh, how much business can you attribute to your website? How many sales per month can you say come directly because of your website? Not because of a sales thing or a meeting, or come for your website. People then they start off, oh, loads, you know, 10, whatever. But then when we nitty gritty it down, it's like, oh, like 1 or 2. So then I'm saying, well, what would you actually want that website to do? Oh, I'd like 10 or 15. Why do you want 10 or 15? Well, it means that I wouldn't have to have an extra salesperson. Well, why do you not want an extra salesperson? Well, it's cheaper then. I can, you know, put whatever. And then you basically get it down to, you've defined where they are right now in reality, not the lies that they've sold themselves. You've then defined the outcome, where is exactly where they want to be, and you've asked them why that outcome is powerful to them. And so inevitably, you then say, well, yeah, I can help you do that. And then, so you don't have to go into the features of how you're going to do it, because actually they don't care. They just care that they know where they're at now, and they know where they want to be. And you've just told them you can help them do that. And so they will then ask you the questions they need to know. So like from a personal training standpoint, they will go, like, they would ask what matters to them. So rather than you trying to go, oh, what we're going to do is we're going to do this many sit-ups and that many things, whatever. They don't give a crap about that. They'll ask the things that matter to them, which, can I train in the morning? And am I able to pay like over a period of time? Well, they'll ask the questions that they actually care about. And so when you've answered those, it's done. It's just like, yeah, like let's do it. Because rather than you kind of, and that's what I was saying about what salespeople do a lot of, and I have definitely done this before, is going, we're the best because we're going to do the SEO bit, we're going to do the optimization of the page speed, we're going to blah, 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 blah. And actually, they might only care about one of those features, but actually what they care about the most is this end goal that you know we've defined. So I do that a lot more now, and it just works because you're listening. What do you actually want? And then why the hell would I tell you about the fact that we're going to provide images for your website when you're not bothered about that?
Yeah.
Like it's such a nothingness thing. So listening is so key. And I feel like like you say with your personal training, you're just asking the questions. And then if you answer them, then it's sold. There's nothing else to sell. Like it's done.
Yeah. So let's get you signed up. Let's get you started.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, how soon, like, how ready are you to get going? Like, yeah, when do you want to get started? Because another good question that I ask, which has really worked, is once you've asked those things of like where they're at, where they want to be, and stuff like that, and why and stuff, you go, well, why do you need me? Like, what, you know, what, like, you know, and then what you're sort of waiting for then is, well, I don't have the expertise or the knowledge to do it, or I want to do it faster, or whatever. You're sort of looking for some version of that, and then you go.
They always do that on Dragon's Den as well. If you ever watch Dragon's Den, they always say, "So why have you come to us then? What do you need from us?"
Yeah,
and that way, that's a really good separator question as well, because then they get to know like which dragon they're interested in the most. So it's like, oh, you know, you've got a massive telecom business. I want to.
Yeah.
You've come from a travel background. You've built a big online blah blah. So it's like. That question, what do you need? You know, why do you need me is a great question. Or what are your expectations from me to help you? How can I help you? How do you think I can help you get the results that you want? So yeah, love it. Amazing. Great just such a simple thing to share, and it's a simple thing and there's no course, by the way, on how to be an expert in getting more sales from a Facebook group. Mark's just sharing exactly what, is working for him right now.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So it's like, you're not an expert in sales groups. You just know how to add value. You've read some good books around it. You've kind of created your own blueprint in your mind. And then it's like, go execute it now. Go. And I guarantee in a week's time, 2 weeks time, 5 weeks time, you'll have even harnessed this even more. And you'll have tweaked it, and you'll have got it so streamlined that you'll be like, yeah, this is what I do. These are the people that have commented. This is the comments that I've had the most responses. So I look for better questions now, and so on. And you'll be getting more sales out of it. So yeah, there we go.
A nice short and snapshot podcast, but I think valuable enough. If you want to be an authority figure, ask questions, listen to people, and then add value in the way you can add value, rather than trying to fake it till you make it. Because that's a clear thing we're not trying to say, is add value where you know what it is you're talking about.
Totally. I think we're really clear on that. It isn't about faking it until you make it. One thing we don't want to do is advocate going out there pretending that you know stuff that you don't know.
Like how to, I said to use a spatula when, cutting someone's back up. I was faking it until I was making it there.
Are you going to use a spatula this weekend?
I don't even think I own a spatula.
Look in the cutlery drawer, see if there's one.
Yeah. Anyway, you have a good week, Ladio, and I will see you in a week.
Yeah, see you in a week. Thanks for checking this out, and like, subscribe, and share it with anybody that you think will get value from this today. Cheers.
The Extra 10% Podcast. Remember to like the John and Mark Facebook page on Facebook, or visit johnandmark.co.uk for exclusive updates and content. Why not share this podcast with a friend and help them get paid tomorrow for what they do today?